Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Thriving Immigrant podcast. My name is Paul, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to host you once again today. I'm grateful to God for that opportunity. And I'm also grateful to you for your support, for listening, for subscribing, and for sharing this with your friends. If you have not shared any of my episodes, I think this is one you would like to share. So please share this, subscribe, and share this with your friends and your family members. I'm really excited about today's conversation because I have a special guest on the call. She's my friend. She's a fantastic person. I remember the first time I met her, she was so energetic, passionate, and we spoke together at a particular event. And I was like, oh, this woman, full of energy, so passionate, and she spoke very well. Then I later realized that she's a communication expert. I'm like, oh, no, no, okay, no wonder. Right. So, as an immigrant, when you move to a new country, there are different challenges we go through. And sadly, some of those challenges, we can't even share it with our close pals or our friends, especially for the fact that when people decide to move to a new country, the society makes it look like they've achieved the best that they can achieve in the world. And when they find themselves in that new country, they experience a new challenge. They start to learn new things. The culture is different. The friends that they've built, the friendships that they've built in the past, maybe 20, 30 years, they don't have those friendships anymore. And even though some of the friends that they manage to keep, they try to share some of their stories, but those friends cannot relate. And sometimes they just decide not to share those stories anymore. And they find themselves in some dark moments. And this is very typical with most immigrants that I know and have spoken to. And I'm really excited about today's conversation because I have a renowned mental health coach. I call her mental and emotional health coach. Her name is Funmi Fatona-Ayowole. She's not new to the community. She has been doing an amazing job for the community. She's someone I really respect. And I want to use this medium to say thank you so much, Funmi, for joining me today on this episode. And drum roll, welcome Funmi to the Thriving Immigrant podcast.
Yay! I am so glad to be here. I think this interview or podcast actually has been a long time coming, at least a whole year. We've been
Right.
wanting to do this, and life has been lifing, but we're really grateful to God that we can do this together. So thank you. It's an honor, it's a joy, it's a privilege for me to be here. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. All right, so let's just go straight into it. Can you tell us about your immigration journey and what inspired you to become a mental health coach?
Ooh, so that's like a double banger.
Yeah.
It's two questions in one. Um, I think that first of all, I became an immigrant first with the prompting or due to the prompting of my husband. So I married and I have an 8-year-old son. He's currently 8 years old, but when we started the process, he was less than one, I think. And my husband, his name is Deji, he said, "Hey, why don't we explore moving to Canada?" And I was like, "What are they doing there? What's so interesting? Why is it why? Where are we going? No, please, I like I like Nigeria." Truly, he said it, and I wasn't tripped. I wasn't excited. I was not even interested. And then he told me about a process that seemed so long. Oh, you do this, you fill these forms, you will do this exam, you will give them XYZ documents. Then they will review, you get in the pool. You get in the pool. I'm like, what's going on? Are we swimming? And then he talked about when you get in the pool, then they'll give you invitation to apply. I say, so all the other things we've been doing before, we had not yet started applying.
And
We
we've
had not
been
yet started
swimming.
applying. I'm telling you, I was not I was not in any way excited. But I think maybe like within another 6 weeks to 2 months or so, I had a series of divine encounters. I don't think I've ever told you this, Paul. I don't even think I've spoken so much about it. You know, you are the one that has asked me about my immigrant journey. I had some divine encounters that I know this is not the platform for it, so I'm just going to summarize. Basically, I was convinced
Hmm.
that I needed to follow the leadership of my husband. So I said, okay, let's jump into the pool.
Go and swim in the pool.
Let's jump into the pool. So this was like 2016, actually, I think. 2016, something like that. I remember the house I was in, where I was living. So that's why I'm able to give you like a little bit of a in terms of like a trajectory or the history. So it was, I would say 2016 was when we jumped into the pool. Um, then there's something I'm now going to say that gives you a little bit of background of why I became a mental health coach. Because in 2016, late 2016, where we were living became flooded, completely flooded. That is, we lived in Maryland, Lagos, Nigeria. So Ikeja area for those that are familiar with the environment of Lagos. And so it was always subject to flooding. For some reason, the landlord of our own house didn't build his house very well. So the foundations, we didn't know at the time when we moved, were shaky. So there was a lot of rain and rainy season. So we're talking June, July. And I woke up one Saturday morning and I put my foot down and my entire house was flooded. The water was up to my knees.
No, no
Yeah,
way.
the water was up to my knees. We were asleep. We woke up and we entered water. We put our foot down from the side of the bed and the water was my knee level. Hey, I'm a petite person, so it's not like I'm super tall, but hey, knee level of an adult. The water had taken over every part of our house. You can imagine the destruction to our belongings, electronics, furniture, everything. There's no single item of clothing that I
I
can
was
say I took
left.
away from that house.
No.
I can't remember anything. And God being so good, and truly, there's no other person I would thank but God. My mother-in-law, my baby, who I told you was less than a year old at that time, was at my mother-in-law's house for the weekend. I don't know what happened that day. We had not yet picked him up because I remember the time I was working. I was still nursing, but I would take him to grandma's during the week, pick him up on weekends. And usually it used to be Friday evenings, but God being so good, that day it was supposed to be Saturday morning.
Hmm.
So by divine providence, my son was saved because if he was in the house, he would have been in one of those cribs that are so low, they are to the ground, really. When my son is a little older in life, now he's 8, I'm going to tell him this story
Hmm.
just to emphasize how special he is, obviously, to God, because he could have drowned and we would not be having this conversation. I don't know where I would be.
Wow.
So we moved out of the house, of course. The landlord refused to give us in Nigeria, we pay by the year. I know that that would be a foreign concept to those that are Canadians or live in the Western world where you pay your rent by the month, but in Nigeria, you pay it by the full year. And so we were in the middle of the year and the landlord refused to give us the balance of it. Anyway, we packed what was left, tiny things that was left of our belongings, and we moved into my old room in my dad's house.
Hmm.
So all three of us now started living in the one room in my dad's house. And that took place for about we were there for about 3.5 to 4 months while we were looking for another house, just navigating a lot of life challenges because my dad now lived so much farther away from our work, from daycare, from school. Everything was disrupted because of that move. So my dad lived in Magodo. So it was so much, and you understand the difference between Magodo
I'm
and
good on
Maryland.
Maryland. Oh,
That
yes.
is at least 1.5 hours of traffic, right? And it wasn't like we were walking inside Maryland. I mean, my husband was working, I think he was working in Dolphin. I was working, yes, in Ikeja GRA. So anyway, our lives were disrupted. And then, of course, living in my dad's house, it just became so unsettling. There were so many changes and rockings to my marriage relationship, my family relationship in general. So much was happening. I actually contemplated suicide. I can't go really too deep into all the things that were happening, but it became extreme enough for me to just think, if I leave this planet right now just to get some relief, what would happen? Would anybody really, really be affected? Okay, maybe my son. He doesn't know me. Maybe he will grow up with someone else. Seriously. Those were the kind of thoughts that were occurring to me.
Hmm.
And I was in such a bad state, truly. I was depressed. I wasn't productive at work. And I think that some of my peers or my colleagues and even my line manager noticed. Anyway, another stroke of divine intervention in the sense that I was strolling through the streets of Instagram one day and I met a mom coach. I call her a mom coach because at that time she was really focused on helping moms thrive, helping moms be productive, and so on and so forth. She was giving them like templates, productivity tools, meal planning, time management. She was really good, but somehow I was drawn to her that there's something for me inside her. And I reached out to her. And remember, I had lost my home. I was struggling with work. I was struggling with my parenting. I was struggling with my in-laws. My husband was struggling with his in-law. There was so many things going on. So I didn't have money to just be paying any new coach. I reached out to her. I just explained or summarized my situation, and she gave me a full scholarship. She worked with me one-on-one for almost 6 months. And Paul, I gave it everything I had.
Hmm.
She was living in Canada already. So her time zone was not convenient for me, but I didn't let that stop me. I would be on the bathroom floor in the corner of my room while my husband and son were sleeping at 11 p.m. at night. Our sessions, when we calculated it, for me, it was 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. I didn't let it stop me. I was doing it. I was having conversations with her. When she leaves me, we would do 1 hour. When she leaves me or when I leave her, whatever, when we close the Zoom room, I would stay and do the assignments she gave me.
Hmm.
I gave it everything. It was like I was willing to do the work for my own liberation. So anyway, we were still in. So I've sort of mixed to you my answers of my immigrant journey, right, as well as why and how I became a mental health coach. So basically, from that point on, from working with her for 6 months, I think that's how I was able to crawl my way back into the light.
Hmm.
Gradually, I got myself back. And I obviously there were changes in my relationships, the quality of my perspectives, how I saw so many of the things happening to me. Now I felt like they were not just happening to me, but they were happening for me. Obviously, I have a story to tell. Obviously, I can tell you that, oh, I've passed through some fire, some flooding, some pools, and so on and so forth in order to be where I am today. Right. And so it's really just a mixture of the stories that make us who we are, right? And the quality of work we're ready and willing to put in. So I came back gradually and I started seeing how, what if I could help other people? I wasn't in too much of a hurry, so it's not like I immediately jumped and became a coach from then on. But I did take a counseling class while still in Lagos. And then we were processing our documents. We had received our invitation to apply. We had stopped swimming. We got into that whole process where you applied and you're waiting for the response. And then we started gathering any and all other documents. And I have a stepdaughter. She is currently 16 years old. She came with us because her mom, my husband, and I had an understanding in order to bring us along with us. So she's my daughter. I don't even regard her as a stepdaughter. So she has been with us. She had been with us for the first 5 years that we were in Canada. So we all came as a family. So
Hmm.
that's how we all came as an immigrant family. And just to throw in some more details there with regards to becoming a mental health coach, when I now arrived, I first of all settled my kids in school, and my husband got a job. Um, I got a job also, but I was like, there's more to me. I want to continue on that path of how can I help people. And
Wow.
so I researched and I found an ICF accredited institution. So I got certified and accredited as an emotional health and wellness coach. This was in so sorry. This was in 2019. Um, and of course, with the proper accreditation and certification, you would do a number of practical classes. So I started attending to clients for free first, and then my confidence level really elevated when I was able to see the trajectory of what kind of transformation do I bring to my clients from when they started, when they joined me, or when they first signed up to when they are done with our 2 to 3 month interaction with each other. How equipped are they to face life on their own? How equipped are they to self-regulate, to be self-aware, to be so trained in the emotional tools and skills that I help them with, that they're able to on the other side say, oh, I'm doing so much better. So that's how I became a mental and emotional health coach. That's how I became an immigrant. Double
Wow.
answer to your question.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that story. Such a powerful story. I can imagine the trauma that you went through.
Hmm.
And I'm happy that you are now using those experiences to help people that are either going through this or trying to prevent them from going through it as well. So well done. Do you think it was just a coincidence for you to have been in the pool and getting access to a mental health coach in Canada? Did
Hmm.
that did that
I,
influence anything, or did you
I
ever
don't know.
think
I don't
about it?
think, well, I don't know. I'm not sure. It could be it could be coincidence, but it could also be divine because I now have a thriving friendship with this mom coach. This
Wow.
lady that helped me so much. We're now actually friends and collaborators. We've done so much together. And she always says that I'm one of her poster child clients. When a client has basically
Evolved.
transcended and evolved in such a way that you can now collaborate with them. We've done so much together. I'm now an ambassador of something called a Bold Women Club, which she inaugurated, and she has come to Toronto quite a number of times. We've met in person so many times, and we continue to have a thriving friendship. So I think it was also just divine.
Right. Do you want to give her a shout out?
Yes, let me give you a shout out, Olusheye Ashiru.
Take your
She is
flowers.
Take Your Flowers. She's the founder of Mom University, the founder, like she's such an entrepreneurial but impactful person. She's very talented in writing. She's very talented in coaching and transformation facilitation. And she runs a really great structure. Her organizations are always they're always systematic. I always see and observe how she does great work. So
Oh,
take your
wow.
flowers, Olusheye. Thank you. Thank you
Oh,
for your I call you my MVP and you know it. Thank you.
all right. Thank you, Olusheye Ashiru, for all you are doing. And
Yes.
this is a special shout out to you. All right. So, do you think immigrants go through unique mental health challenges or unique emotional challenges? I don't know if my question makes sense.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. I mean, uh, I think it was a conversation with Miriam of Canada Vendors about 2 or 3 weeks ago on Instagram Live, where I first of all brought up the fact that immigrants that lived in what we call third world countries, they had such a different standard of life and living that it's like day and night. You
Hmm.
know, in Nigeria or Kenya, for example, you had a nanny, you had a housekeeper, you had a laundryman, you had a driver, you probably had a maid, an office assistant, personal assistant, and so on and so forth. But when you come to Canada, as an example, my God, you do everything. You are everything. You are the maid, the nanny, the assistant, the driver, the laundry person. You are everything. That in itself is a unique challenge. Number two, the weather. We were
Right.
just speaking about the weather in other parts of the world where maybe it's always hot, or they only have two types of seasons: rainy season, dry season,
Mhm.
right? Where right now I'm having a little bit of a cough, and my doctor is thinking maybe it's allergies. I said, me, allergies.
Ale what?
I don't even understand what you're saying. Allergies. And he's like, yes. I said, but I'm Nigerian. He said, well, your body gets adapted. And
You're not a
I have been,
Canadian.
I have been here for 6 years. Maybe I have gotten adapted. So he
Hmm.
was asking me questions like, oh, it's my throat, my sinuses. I said, sinuses. You never,
Uh, I can
okay,
relate.
you can relate. Good. So the weather completely different when I'm talking to my friends in Nigeria or even in the UK, because the UK there's there's some disparity, but you think about the extreme cold that we go through, that we experience in Canada, up to -40 sometimes in some parts of Canada, -43, -45. I remember my first winter here. I wanted to enter the ground. My God. Seriously. I was like, why? Deji, why did you do this to me? They said I should follow. You want me to?
We followed leadership.
I followed you. Wow. Into the freezer. This was like, it was like living in the freezer, right?
Yeah,
So there's so many unique challenges. Then let's talk about, and what I'm saying, it affects your mental health. You
right.
come from a situation where you had so many people and helpers doing things for you. You give birth, and your mother-in-law or your mother comes and stays in your house for months and months and months. Unless you are able to make the arrangements in Canada, it's not possible.
Yeah.
How much do you want to pay a maid or a live-in nanny? How much do you want to pay somebody to come and clean your house occasionally? You have to do all these things yourself. It means that your time management now has to be
On
on
point.
point to the maximum. You will work, you will commute to work, you will take care of your kids. You may pick them up, drop them off at daycare or at school. You would pack their lunch. you you
God help you.
do all this.
God
God
bless
help
you. You
you.
now have 4 children.
Eh,
You have 4 children
No
between the
comment.
ages of 10 to 2.
Paul, no comments.
Yeah,
Children are a blessing from the Almighty. Let's just leave it like that. But the more children you have,
more commitment.
then you collect, bring them back from school. And in our own area, they used to have lesson teacher, right?
Right.
And then you sit down with them, you do their homework. And of course, they get to the age, you said between 10 and 2. That means they're asking you, mommy, 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 daddy, 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 continuously.
Yeah.
What space do you have to think? Some people don't get to think. Some moms or dads don't get to think until their head hits the pillow at 10 p.m. at night. Tell me how
Hmm.
that's good for your mental health.
Wow. You've touched on a lot of issues. Should I
Mhm.
call them issues?
They're
But
just
a lot of realities. You've
they're
you've touched on a lot.
issues.
Yeah.
The EUs.
You've touched on a lot of realities, and I think this is where I kind of feel some I kind of feel somehow because when I have conversations with my friends back home, these are some of the things I'm unable to share.
Mm.
Because, for someone that has left the country, and if you look at what is going on in Nigeria, for example, it looks like you are in a much better place. And don't get me wrong, when you have the conversation and before you even say hello, they've already listed 1,001 troubles they are going through.
There's no
And
foil.
and they end the conversation, I'm at least I'm happy for you, you're in a better place. And
Hmm.
at that point, you will just be like, thank you. I wish you all the best too. Like, you don't even have the courage to express yourself. And some of these things, you really need to speak it out. Yeah, you need to talk about them because you can have a lot of friends and you can still be lonely.
That's very true. When my friends say things that are going on in Nigeria and they think I'm in a better place, I say there's no better place unless it's heaven. I'm sorry. Heaven, that is a better place. Every place has its own challenges.
Yeah.
So if you maybe you're challenged because there's no power and there's no gas, and in some areas there are kidnappings, I'm very, very sorry. But where I am, as an example, the bus left me because I got there 30 seconds late.
Hmm.
And so because the bus left me as a result of 30 seconds, I'm now 1 hour late to work. And the ripple effect of that is perhaps maybe if I'm a person that gets paid by the hour, I don't have enough money to pay for my child's daycare.
And your job can even be on the line because your manager may
Exactly.
not
See
tolerate
it like
that.
that, may not tolerate it. And then it's a performance thing, it's a career thing. And I'm thinking about how will I manage all this? And perhaps maybe because of the ripple effect of my lateness, I'm late to pick up my kid from daycare and they find me. Then
And
I
you
have
need
to
to
pay
pay.
money again.
That's double loss.
That's double loss.
And you get anxious and you become agitated and
And
you
maybe I'm
become,
thinking about how am I going to pay for groceries this month?
yeah.
Well, you don't know all this. I'm talking to you on the other side of the line. Perhaps maybe the buses that come to take you to work, they run every 10 minutes. In my own area, they run once in 1 hour. And those buses, they don't play. They are not going to stay and wait for you while you're running from one end of the street to the other. They won't do that,
Imagine you have
right?
to do
These
this
are the
during winter.
realities. Uh, these are the realities.
Right.
So yeah, we all have challenges. So whether you are in Canada or Kutuwenji, everybody has their challenges.
Thank you. Thank you for talking about this. And so I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. And it's
Okay.
going to be like two follow-up questions to this. First of all, have you noticed any common traits or practices among immigrants who thrive in their new environment? Because you've been working in this capacity as an emotional health coach for a while. So
Mhm.
have you come across people who are just always energetic, happy? Do you have any idea of any common traits that they have?
So let me just first of all just debunk one particular myth. If you're always energetic or happy, it doesn't mean that you're emotionally mature.
Hmm.
It doesn't also mean that you are emotionally healthy. You could be energetic because you don't know how to control your restlessness. You could be energetic because you're trying to attract attention. You could be energetic, like what people may view as energetic, life of the party, talking, always involved in this, that, and the other. It may be that you're trying to cover up for something that is a deep pain within you. So I just want us to right off the bat, first of all, know that people's external behaviors don't necessarily equate to whether they're mentally and emotionally sound at that point. And happiness, a lot of the time, really depends on the happenings and the situation around you. You
Hmm.
can actually be emotionally balanced and sound in the midst of a storm, in the midst of maybe really, really hard financial situations. Maybe you're broke, maybe you're not able to pay your rent, and so on and so forth. You can still maintain joy or a level of peace and assurance. So that one thing I just want to really, really tell people that, someone that has like that, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's how they
All
feel
is
from.
well.
Yeah,
Wow.
because our emotions are like, they're not just reactions, but they are signs. They're like the check engine light in your car, that something is going on deep within.
Hmm. I like that check engine.
Yeah, yeah. So to answer your first question, what are the traits that I find with emotionally thriving immigrants? The first one I would say is a high sense of self-awareness. This is extremely important. So you really need to know what makes you happy, what fills your cup, what increases your energy, and what doesn't.
Hmm.
What are the things that you can observe, even in yourself, when you're like, my my own energy is low. uh Maybe there's a sense of heaviness that you're able to observe. How do you feel it? Is it like in a pain in your neck? Do you feel like a real thumping in your heart? Do you feel sweat on your palms? Do you feel like a heaviness at, in your temples? Sometimes people are having physical symptoms that are indicative of emotional and mental stress, and we don't link them together. Sometimes a person could be having indigestion, but it is as a result of some form of emotional or mental health trauma.
Hmm.
Something as simple as, oh, I'm not able to go to the toilet. It could be that something is clogging you up, not just physically, but clogging you up mentally and
Mentally.
emotionally. So the number one answer I would say is a high sense of self-awareness. You have been observing yourself and you are true to yourself to know, this is how it's doing me. Or somebody is speaking to me and I feel drained. Or I am speaking to someone and I feel drained, because that's possible. How do I regain my lost emotional energy? That's another thing. But first of all, that high sense of self-awareness, wherever you are, whatever time of the day, to know exactly how you feel and why. What could have triggered it? What's happening right now? What's happening internally or in your environment? That's very, 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 very key. And number two, I would say, is the ability to maintain silence and solitude when needed. Because silence and solitude feeds your ability to be self-aware. I know I'm saying a lot of things, but at the same time, silence and solitude helps you to self-regulate, which is actually my third point. So number one, self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
Number two, silence and solitude. And silence can be both internal and external. Are you able to quiet the noise inside you, the chatter in your brain, talking, the words that are being said, your own internal voice? Solitude, it's not every time that you need to be around people. And when I say people, even people through your phone, people through your social media apps, people through your WhatsApp. I wonder, can you take an hour a day and actually, not that you are sleeping, and actually be alone with yourself, perhaps with just a notepad and a pen? Is it
Take
possible?
or you take a walk
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
without
You
your
don't have to
phone.
be sitting. Yes, you take a walk without your phone, without anything in your ears. Allow the universe to speak to you. you know? So silence and solitude, it is so powerful.
Hmm.
It is very, very powerful and is one of the major tools that an emotionally thriving person should continuously use. Number
Wow.
three,
I'm
what did we
loving
say?
the conversation.
I'm loving the conversation too. Number three is self-regulation. That just means that it's not every single thing that a bird drops on your head that has to stay,
Hmm.
right? So thoughts will come and go, and situations, let's use the example of the person who got to the bus station 30 seconds late and so missed the bus, so became 1 hour late to the office, right? This person has been met with a negative situation. How how can you imagine the thoughts running through his or her mind when she first of all missed the bus? Ah, that's how, if I didn't wake up late, if those children, if I did not do this, oh, maybe I did not have my bath on time, or maybe because I stopped to tie and Shikemi's shoelace, da 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 da. That's what made me late. And those thoughts are racing. They are like, it's like a feedback loop,
Yeah.
because with the thoughts she'd be thinking, perhaps maybe it's something I did wrong, maybe it's something that is wrong with me, right? And so these thoughts, as she is practicing self-regulation, she's able to examine the thoughts and say, really, maybe this could have happened to anyone.
Hmm.
What lesson can I learn from today's experience? Maybe the night before, I set out all of Shikemi's things and the lunch and even my clothes, what Shikemi is going to wear, so that there is no kitty kata in the morning and I can get to the bus station even 2 minutes before the time, waiting for the bus. She says it all within her, and she's empowered that she knows that she can do better next time. She's not helpless. This entire process I have just described to you, where you take the thought, examine it, question it, ask yourself if it is really true and what you're going to do about it. And then have that knowing inside of you that you can affect your own future positively. You can make a change. All that is self-regulation. And sometimes it happens within 30 seconds. But the power to do it, a lot of us don't have it.
Hmm. Oh, wow. I don't think you should spill everything out so that your clients can come
Yeah.
and get personalized advice
Yes,
and
those are the
solutions.
top three things I'm just gonna say. Really, self-awareness, silence and solitude is a double-edged sword, number two, and
Right.
number three, self-regulation.
Wow. I'm sure you guys are enjoying this conversation. Share this with someone. Don't all good things. Share this and subscribe. Then Funmi, I forgot to mention that Funmi is the founder of the Soul Clinic. You
Yes.
can find them on Instagram. You can subscribe to
So,
their newsletter.
YouTube.
You can find them on YouTube. And she and her team, they are doing an amazing job when it
Thank
comes
you.
to mental and emotional health space. So thank you, Funmi, for what you are doing. I have a
Thank you.
lot of questions for you, but I don't think I can ask them all because every question, the way you handle them is so detailed and well answered. But I'm just going to ask you this one. What changes would you like to see in how societies support the mental health of immigrants? Because for you, you're an immigrant and you're a mental health coach. And the reason why I'm asking is, I initially asked you about the unique challenges that immigrants face. In my experience, I've seen that even when we try to show empathy, it's much more easier when you've experienced what that person is experiencing. So sometimes you just try to show empathy if it's a situation where you've not really found yourself in. It can be difficult to show empathy. It might just be like a pretense. So because the government, who is the government? Chances that they are Canadians, so they're probably put,
Caucasian.
yeah, it's Caucasian. So just they're probably putting up policies to support mental health, but maybe their own perspective is different from your own perspective. So you've spoken with different people. What changes would you like to see in how society supports mental health of immigrants?
Um, from the border, first of all, in my own opinion,
From the
when
welcome to Canada.
telling you from that welcome to Canada, that place where you feel whatever that thing is when you're coming in from the airport, I feel like you should have a caseworker attached to you.
Hmm.
That's for me, number one. Because Canada and other Western countries, you are welcoming so many new people. We must also attach resources to those new people.
I like this point you're
So,
making.
so from the welcome part where you maybe get your SIN or where you have to register for your health card, somewhere there in that thing that is already mandatory, you should get a caseworker attached to you.
Hmm.
Just even if the person is checking in with you first time, another 3 months time, how are you doing? How are you settling in? Have you gotten a job? How's your family? Have you guys gotten a place to live? Or are you still living with XYZ person you said you were going to live with? Have you now gotten your own place? Or is your spouse working? What are the plans? A caseworker, just somebody that is interested in your welfare and then can point you in the direction of some of the things you will need. So, for example, if you say, I haven't yet gotten a job, the person will say, okay, what area do you live in? Maybe you can go to Access Ontario or Access whatever of your province, right? Or there are so and so job banks. Let me register you or help you register, and so that you can get notifications. Or perhaps maybe you need a career coach or a career consultant to help you out. We need caseworkers attached to every immigrant. That's my own personal. If I had the ears of Justin Trudeau, I would say this to him. That's number one. Number two, I believe that we need a lot more communities. We need a lot more communities of people who are just coming in. They shouldn't have to do it themselves. So as an example, I belong to a girl group that is for every person most likely of Nigerian descent in Canada. Then we have our small whatever of women of Markham, girls of Ontario, girls of the GTA, something something. You now have like different right pockets, but there's I wonder if there could be like in every community center, maybe there's something that say, are you new to the community? In every community center, and these community centers are funded by the municipality or the region, right? So in every community center, are you new to the region? These are some things that you could do. Maybe you could join a sporting whatever, or you could join a hangout thing, find common interests, all that. This is because there's something about community that we take for granted.
Hmm.
There's something about community that we take for granted and we must not. And yes, even though you want to find people that look like you, which is very important, but just finding human beings that are just good at heart and you can connect with is also very important, regardless of their race or their creed, that kind of thing. It's extremely important. The third thing I would say is for the government to put their money where their mouth is. So all these various mental health resources that they are passing around, perhaps maybe they can take a closer look and look at those that are true that truly need it, and they can see evidence of their performance,
Hmm.
right? So whether they are nonprofits or charity organizations, um, I would really love if the government and the people providing these resources or saying that they are providing the resources, they should really, really put their eyes and their money where their mouth is.
Wow, this has been a very, very insightful conversation.
I hope so.
Yes, and I'm sure everyone listening to this right now, they can relate and they will be so grateful for all the things that you've shared. I know you founded the Soul Clinic, and I wanted to ask you you can share your handles and how can people contact you if anyone needs one-on-one service or they want you to
Yeah.
speak to a group of
Group.
people.
Yes. Okay. So first of all, you can reach me at at Funmi Ayowole on Instagram, Funmi Ayowole on Facebook. I have a personal website. It's www.thefunmiayowole.com. My organizational website is www.thevirtualsoulclinic.com. We run a non-for-profit where we provide 15 to 20 minutes of free support coaching calls. So you may not get me for free, truly, but what we have is a consortium in the Virtual Soul Clinic of volunteer support coaches who I have personally trained and are available for booking on the site for free.
Oh,
If
wow.
you want to work with me one-on-one, you can please check www.thefunmiayowole, where my rates and the type of services, which include monthly 90-day programs, because I really believe that, if you want to see full transformation, you need at least 90 days with a person. But I am available to speak for 90 minutes where we're looking at the challenges, and you would get like preliminary coaching. However, if a person needs something that is much more long-term, much more transformative, I'm available for 90 days and above with regards to personal, customized one-on-one emotional and mental health coaching. And yes, I am available to speak at events, give keynotes, speak on panels. I've done that quite a lot over the past 5 years. Thank you so much, Paul, for the opportunity to share.
All right. Thank you so much, Funmi. Of course, we have to bring you back to the Thriving Immigrant podcast. You are a thriving immigrant, and you are not just a thriving immigrant, but you are helping people to thrive, because I believe strongly that everything happens twice. First in your mind, then in the physical realm. So if your mind is not well taken care of, just imagine what's going to happen in
What
your
you are
physical.
manifesting in your physical world.
Yes. So for people to thrive, they really need to focus on their mental health. And that's what you've been doing. So thank you so much for impacting lives and helping people to thrive in their own communities. So I have
Thank you.
one final question for you,
Oh, okay.
which is, what is the most powerful piece of advice you've ever received and you like to share?
Whoa. A big shout out to my mentor, profound epic coach, big sister, spiritual mother. Her name is Debola Dijikurumi. The most resounding piece of advice I've ever received from her is energy flows where attention goes.
Mm,
Energy flows where attention goes. It's all around the mind and what you focus on, but it is the very truth. If maybe in your family, in your workplace, in your finances, whatever you do, where you pay attention to, your energy will flow to that area. So maybe do a quick self-audit. What am I focusing all my attention on in this season? Do I really want my energy going in that direction? So it's food for thought.
wow. What a way to end the show. Thank you so much, Fumi. Thank you for that advice. It's a very big one. Energy flows where the attention, how did you
Goes.
put it? Where the attention goes.
Like where attention goes is FWAG. I will always remember it like that. Energy
Energy
flows where
flows where the
attention goes.
attention goes. Oh, wow. All right. So I think on this note, this is a good spot to end the show. Thank you so much, Fumi. I'm hoping to bring you again. And for everyone listening to me right now, a big shout out to you too. Please follow Fumi on her Instagram, YouTube, and
Social
Facebook,
media,
all
Facebook.
our social media pages.
Yeah.
You
You
can
can just
also
Google me, actually. Just type in my
just
name.
just Google Funmi Ayowole and you will see the beautiful face on Google. Thank you so much and keep thriving till I see you again. Bye.